Okay, great.
How are you?
Good, need to see you.
See you
We're
too.
gonna introduce the kind of things that overall.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We're going to get started with our forum for tonight. My name is Patty O'Brien, and I am a member of the League, but I'm also on the board here at Oakwood Community Center. So on behalf of Oakwood, I'd like to welcome all of you here tonight and welcome the candidates and our League members who will be running the forum tonight. Oakwood is really happy to do this type of event because this is exactly what Oakwood is about. Bringing our neighbors together, working with other local organizations to help our residents know what's going on in their community. So we're really pleased to do this. On the table as you came in is information about Oakwood and some of our upcoming events. And there's also materials there from the League of Women Voters about voter registration. If anyone needs to get registered or needs to change the status on their registration, you can do that tonight. If you need an absentee ballot application, you could pick up one tonight. And there's other information there about voting procedures. Shirley and I will be ushers tonight, and we will be walking around. And so if you have any questions about any of those materials, we can help you. And should I mention these cards?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, so if you have questions for the candidates, we will be walking around with these index cards, and you can just raise your hand. We'll give you an index card. You can write your question on there, and we will collect the cards and pass them on to the moderator. All right. So with that, I just want to introduce who's here tonight. We have our two candidates for District 2, Shikole Struber and Ryan Brosnan.
Good enough.
All right, good enough. Linda Allen will be our moderator, and Teresa Zubretsky is our timekeeper. All right, and I will turn it over now to Linda.
Thank you, Patty. As Patty mentioned, my name is Linda Allen. I'm with the League of Women Voters of Rensselaer County, and I live in the town of East Greenbush. I'll be the moderator tonight for the candidate forum. Tonight is your opportunity to listen to the candidates for the Troy City Council District 2 who are on the ballot and to hear their views on the issues. Tonight's candidate forum will be recorded and posted to the League's website. No other recording of this event is allowed by the audience. Before we begin tonight, I want to remind everybody to turn off all cell phones and other personal electronic equipment. As Patty also mentioned, this event is being hosted by the Oakwood Community Center and run by the League of Women Voters of Rensselaer County. The event is starting at 7 o'clock p.m. and will end no later than 9 p.m. The League is a nonpartisan volunteer political organization dedicated to the informed and responsible participation of citizens in government. The League never supports or opposes any political party or candidate. This has been our policy for over 100 years. Membership is open to anyone who is 16 years or older, whether female or male. Please consider joining the League. The League has produced an online voters guide that will include all candidates who responded to the League's queries. And the name of the website where that voter guide is vote411.org, which will be open on October 1st, 2025. And so you can go there to read about the candidates if they've responded. I realize that some individuals in the audience tonight may be strongly partisan. However, I will insist that the candidates in the audience treat each other with respect. Personal attacks will not be allowed. It is the job of the audience to listen and to ask questions at the appropriate time. We will ask that you all listen respectfully to each candidate's answers. In the interest of time, please hold applause to the end of the event. We ask that there be no cheering, booing, or reacting to any candidate's responses. The timekeeper for this event, as she's already been introduced, Teresa, is seated in the front row here. She will hold up cards to let the candidates know how much time they have left in providing their responses and their statements. A green card means 1 minute left, yellow means 30 seconds left, and red means the time is up. The format for this evening will be as follows. First, there will be opening statements from the candidates of no more than 2 minutes, followed by the audience question and answer period, and then closing statements by candidates of no more than 1 minute. Members of the audience may submit written questions during the forum, and Patty and Shirley will be walking around with the index cards that you can write your questions on, and they will bring them up to me. Please remember to make your questions pertinent to the office. If a question is directed to one candidate, the other candidate may respond if they wish. If there are several questions that are similar in content, they may be combined by the moderator. Please try not to repeat a subject that has been asked before. Bear in mind that we may not have time for all questions. And we have had one question already. As we start the question and answer period, if we don't have other questions, the league has prepared questions for the candidates. If we don't have many questions from the audience directly. Questions will be directed to the candidates in rotation so that everyone gets a chance to respond. Candidates have been given 2 red cards to be used in the question and answer period. Each card will allow for an additional 1.5 minutes to add to their remarks or to respond to something the other candidate has said. It may not be used during opening or closing statements. Now I'd like to introduce the candidates for the Troy City Council District 2 in alphabetical order. Ryan Brosnan and Shikole Struber. And it is now time for their opening statements. We have already selected the candidates conferred, and Shikole, it will be going first to provide her opening statement. So now we will hear from Shikole.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Oakwood and the League, for hosting this tonight, and all of you for being here. My name is Shikole Struber, and I am running for City Council District 2. I'm going to start with a little about myself. I have lived in Troy since 2017. I own a house over on 2nd, but I rented for many a year, so I've seen both of those. My partner is in the audience. I have 2 adorable cats who wake me up in the middle of the night, so apologies if I look tired. I am the Chief Information Security Officer for my company and a virtual CIO for a lot of my clients. That probably doesn't mean a lot to most of you. I work in technology, but the reason that it's important for my run for City Council is that a lot of my job requires reading, understanding, analyzing, and applying government regulations and compliance requirements to business. So at City Council, you kind of need to be able to read and understand and analyze a lot of different requirements to apply them to the city. I also work a lot with budgets. My clients love their budgets, and being able to pinpoint where a budget can be potentially cut so that you can reallocate money, understanding where all the money is coming and going, also very important for a city council position. So my professional life has prepared me well for this, and I am excited to use it to serve the city of Troy. I'm also an avid reader. I founded a book club many years ago. We read all manner of books, and I believe it's a great way to get to know your community. I like to bike, and I think that is it for now. Thank you.
Now we'll hear from Ryan.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ryan Brosnan. I'm currently running for re-election here in District 2. District 2 is from 111th to Hoosick, from the river up through the cemetery on Oakwood. A little bit about myself. I'm a union electrician, fourth generation union. Brosnan clan's been union since we got here. I've been working real hard and enjoying the work, both as an electrician and now as a city councilman here. A lot of my day-to-day is taking phone calls while up on a ladder or on a scissor lift, or right now floating in the middle of the Coves Reservoir. But yeah, I usually answer within an hour or so, get back to everybody. I hear everyone's day-to-day concerns, and I enjoy helping them with their day-to-day concerns. Every now and again, we have bigger things in the city. A lot of it is having people reach out to me, to voice their opinions and their concerns, and understanding what they're concerned about. That way I can either find a way to navigate through the legislation to help them ease their concerns, or just vote no or yes, depending on what they're into. Yeah, I've been a public servant for about 2 years now. It's been an amazing experience every day. I'm exhausted, but it's probably the most rewarding thing I've done in my life, and I'm looking to continue to do it for the next 2 years. So thank you again for coming out, and I'm looking forward to the rest of this debate.
Okay, thank you. And now we will get to the questions from the audience. Candidates are reminded that they have 1.5 minutes to answer, and a candidate is not required to answer if they do not wish to. So I'll go ahead and get started with the questions that are being handed in by the audience. The first one, and Ryan, this will be for you to start with. What specific strategies would you use on the city council to help keep rents affordable in Troy?
Yeah, so currently I'm working on an ROP, a residency occupancy program. Part of that is going to be not only making sure all the apartments in the city are up to code, but also ensuring that rents don't exceed a certain amount every year. Going back and forth on how much that number is going to be, but it's going to be comparable probably to good cause eviction that recently came through. That is the easiest way, and then yeah, that would be the way to do it.
So I've been speaking with a lot of the people at Good Cause Eviction, have read through that legislation that New York State as a whole has already passed, and many of our neighboring cities have as well. Passing that legislation, which already exists, would be the simplest and fastest way to get renters, which make up 65% of Troy, protection. It does cap annual raises at 10%, and it doesn't allow for landlords to cancel a lease or non-renew a lease if a resident is reporting them to code. So especially in District 2, as I'm walking around, just last night I was talking to a resident who has black mold in their unit, and they reported it to the landlord, and the landlord isn't doing anything, and they are afraid to report it to code because they're afraid of getting kicked out of their apartment. So this legislation already exists. It is a very low barrier to entry for us. The ROP program sounds great. I'd be interested in learning more about it, but we should start where we can.
Just to respond to what you said there, New York State already has protections for renters for reporting their landlord to code. You can't take any kind of retaliatory action towards a tenant. If there is retaliation after you report them to code, or any kind of reporting, you will be protected from the state.
Okay, thank you. So I'll go on to the next question from the audience. Now that the planning commission has been removed and replaced by a planning board, how do you feel about the loss of expertise in the new board, and how will this affect the city of Troy?
Great question. It's always sad to lose expertise in any board, especially in planning. As a council member, the job that it would be for me is to potentially rework how it is written in the city code to prevent that in the future. Because I don't think anybody broke the law in any way, shape, or form. They did follow code, but that doesn't mean that it's written in the most effective or efficient way. So having things like a staggered board, so you can only replace 1 to 2 members per year. That way you're not losing institutional knowledge, things like that. But it is really important for Troy to keep a standard. We want to make sure that our historic city remains looking historic in certain places. We want to make sure that there are projects coming in. We really need the development. We need people coming to Troy, but doing it in the right way.
I apologize, can you repeat the question?
All right. Now that the planning commission has been removed and replaced by a planning board, how do you feel about the loss of the expertise in the new board, and how will this affect the city of Troy?
Thank you, sorry about that. Yeah, the loss of institutional knowledge is not ideal for anybody. However, the people that came on to the planning board now, they are very well qualified. They have institutional knowledge of their own. The reworking of the commission to the board, there has been some changes that I specifically made to help with ensuring the process moves along. That way rents stay lower because we're continuing to build in our blossoming city. There's nothing becoming stagnant. Yeah, no, it's not ideal to lose the institutional knowledge. However, it's not lost forever. You can always lean on those people. The planning department is still there, code is still there. Everybody with the institutional knowledge from the city side, outside of the commission, is still there. There was a rocky start with Robert's rules in the beginning, just how the meeting is run. However, if you've gone to any of the planning board or you've checked out any of the planning board online, they really hit their own stride. Their voice is coming through as their own, and I think they're doing a great job, and I'm excited to see them continue to do so.
Okay, thank you. Just a reminder, if you have questions, please write them down on the index cards, and the ushers will go ahead and bring them up to me. So we're gonna go ahead and ask some questions that we've prepared. And so this one, Ryan, I guess you'll be going first on this one. What are 1 or 2 of the most pressing issues that you feel need to be addressed for your community or district, and possible solutions?
I would say the 2 biggest issues in District 2 are, when I first ran, they were infrastructure and crime. I would say it's still that. We've made a lot of improvements in the last 2 years for both the infrastructure and the crime going down. The infrastructure, there's a lot of streetlights that have been replaced. The last 2 that I know in the district that aren't currently working are right outside of my house. And we said to leave those ones for last to ensure that everyone else has their lights. Crime is down by 33%, our shootings are down, our stabbings are down. A big part of that is through, we have the summer work program with the county. We had 186 young adults join and work this summer instead of being out potentially making bad decisions. I know if I was left with too much time during the summer, I too made some bad decisions. I've had 40 kids, 40 young adults now, I guess, that were graduating high school that have joined the trades. So they're gonna go through a union paid apprenticeship. They have benefits, they have health insurance, dental, plenty of retirement accounts. The way that started was slow. There was 4 the first year, and then they spoke to their friends spoke to their friends. Now they all have good careers. If that trend continues, I think you'll see a lot of kids who felt like they didn't have an option out, now find a new option.
So both from my observation and what I have heard from the residents, The two biggest issues in District 2 are crime and garbage. On the garbage side, one of the things I'd like to see is getting trash cans outside of all of the bodegas. There are a ton of bodegas around the city, but especially in D2, and we need them. I appreciate them, but the kids, get off school, get off of their summer program, they go to the bodega and get their chicken wings and their candy, and then they have nowhere to put their trash, and it ends up on the ground, in the alleys, all around Troy, and a lot of people would prefer that not to happen. So getting the trash cans back would be good. And for crime, I believe all people are inherently good as long as their basic needs are met. So helping the community to get their basic needs met, making sure there's food and housing and people feel safe in the community and building that community. There's a lot less crime when you know your neighbor. So getting people out, meeting their neighbors, having more events in the district to do that of all different kinds. I know that sometimes there's some music, sometimes there's some sports. Not everybody likes everything. So getting out there and meeting your neighbors will help reduce that as well.
Okay, thank you. So we'll go back to some of the questions from the audience. The city of Troy still has thousands of lead pipes, many in District 2. The city has the money to fix them. What are your plans to advocate for your district and to help expedite this project? And Shikole, I think you're first.
Well, that is something that I talk to the residents about all the time. I honestly don't understand why it is stuck, and I'm not in a position to get the inside information at this moment. But on city council, that is a huge thing to be advocating for. We all need the lead out of our pipes, and you're right, like we do have the money for it, and it seems like an operational issue more so than a money issue. Having managed many projects in my life from start to finish, being able to look into the future and plan for something and budget for that and keep people on track is a very large part of an executive's job, while the rest of the team is supporting. And that is what city council is supposed to be there doing, is supporting, pushing that forward. So whether it be verbally or if there is legislation, there's an RFP to be approved, reading those RFPs, making sure that they make sense, that we're using the money correctly for what Troy needs is how I would do that.
Yeah, lead pipes in District 2 are a huge issue. We're one of the historic districts in the city. We're actually the highest reported district. I know I went door to door. I know Get the Lead Out went door to door. I personally went through and checked for some residents. I called for a lot of residents. To the replacement of the lead lines, before we got the recent grant, we had just enough money for one RFP. The bid went to Callahan. They were replacing lead lines. They were going at a slower rate than we thought they would. That's because replacing lead lines from a few hundred years ago, not the easiest thing in the world. We got the most recent grant. The administration seemed to drag their feet slightly on getting the newest RFP approved. However, my understanding is it was approved. We should have either 2 or 3 crews out replacing lead lines every day now, all the way up until it freezes, and then as soon as the ground unfreezes in the spring, we'll be hitting it hard again. Luckily for District 2, we're one of the highest reported, last time I checked, the highest reported, so we're gonna be getting preferential treatment and getting our lead lines replaced since they have a pretty good scatter. That's the other issue that they're running into, was they were using AI to find where the lead lines are, and we now have a good idea, so you should be seeing more lead lines replaced and roads repaved.
Okay, thank you. District 2 lacks much bike infrastructure, especially on Second Ave. How would you bring more bicycle infrastructure to give D2 complete streets?
The challenge with that is we have pretty narrow streets here in District 2. We weren't really, I guess, planning for the whom we had in population. However, luckily for us, we do have that riverfront that's undeveloped. Currently, they are clear cutting it, and it should be a new bike lane or a bike path from Lansingburg at about 120th all the way down to downtown, connecting us with a safe way to get around if you're not in a car or you don't want to take a bus. You'll be able to bike or walk in a safe area with no automobiles, no chance of getting injured other than falling down and scraping your knee. So that's the ideal spot, and that's what we plan on doing.
I agree, it's a huge issue. As somebody who has biked, scooted, walked, also driven, but it is really difficult to get around in District 2 if you don't have a car. And I've talked to a lot of people about ways that we can make the streets safer, not even just for bikes. There are people with strollers who need to be getting their kids to the bus or to school or elsewhere. We have people in wheelchairs who need to be able to get around. And making the streets more accessible to everybody and not just cars needs to be a huge priority. Even not having crosswalks that are lined and then not enforcing not parking in those crosswalks is a huge problem for bikers, runners, mothers with strollers. We need to start thinking outside of just cars, because that's not everybody. And especially in District 2, we have a lot of low-income families who can't afford cars, and they rely on that infrastructure to live. So working with organizations like Complete Streets and Capital Streets and anybody else they've already done a lot of these studies. We don't have to put in that much legwork to it. We just need to make sure that we are budgeting appropriately and applying for the right grants. And I would love to do that.
Okay, thank you. Another question from the audience. What are your thoughts about the plans to move City Hall to Proctor's Theater? Please speak to the issues of cost, parking, and accessibility.
While I do think that Troy deserves its own City Hall, I don't think this is it. Anybody who has lived in, renovated an old house, you know that you don't know what you don't know. And even since this project has come to fruition, the amount of money that has been estimated to do the work has gone up and up and up. I think $4.5 million total since the original project. And that's just not sustainable for the city of Troy. Signing on to this project right now signs us up for, right now, a $12.5 million liability for the next 20 plus years. And I don't think that's fair to the people of Troy when this is not a need of the city of Troy, it is a want. We need to focus on the needs of Troy, like the Complete Streets program, like getting rid of the lead pipes, and maybe save the want projects for a little bit later.
I'm in favor of the move to Proctor's Theater as long as the numbers don't move much more than they already have. I think in the long run, this is actually going to save the taxpayer a lot of money over the course of the 20 years. With that cost saving, you can actually do more. Currently, right at this moment, we're paying a significant chunk of change to rent a floor for City Hall that we are still responsible for the maintenance on. And then we still have to pay for the common area maintenance charges as well. Over the course of the 20 years, yes, we still have to pay those maintenance and common area maintenance. However, we have space for other properties or other people to move in and help pay for some of that. This would, as long as the numbers don't change much more than they already have, if it goes up any further, I would not be in favor of this project. The issue of parking, there's a parking garage right behind it. As long as there's over 100 parking spots, which there usually is throughout the day, there's been talks of moving the city vehicles out of there. That way there's more room for residents. The first floor of the parking garage would then move to handicap accessible spaces and green spaces for rechargeable cars. I think this would do a great number in helping the downtown district generate even more revenue for us as residents here in District 2.
So, he mentioned as long as the numbers don't go up, which they have already done so. The numbers are the important part of this project, and I don't think that there's room to put Troy back into the red when we just got into the black. It doesn't make sense financially, and I think that everybody needs to think through these savings, quote unquote, and how that relates to right now. Additionally, there's 30% less space for City Hall in the new location at Proctor's than there is in the current floor, according to the floor plans. So I don't know what the plan is, but looking at the floor plans and the square footage and where the desks go, there's 30% less space. I don't know if it's actually going to be able to fit everything that we need for City Hall in it, and we're still thinking about moving forward with this project. So there needs to be a lot more thought and planning before we move City Hall to make sure that it is something that Troy residents and the city is really ready to sign on for 20 years. Because it's not like we're gonna own this space either. We're still renting. We are still paying all of these fees. So maybe it's time to take a breath and take a step back and find somewhere that fits better.
It's true we would be renting the space, but you'd be renting from the Troy, a branch of the Troy government. So you're renting from yourself, which is essentially owning. To speak on the numbers, yes, the numbers went up. If they went up again, is the exact quote I said. I think that the cost savings when you're looking at it is fairly immediate. The benefit of having your own city hall is that you know what's going on. The unknowns are unknown. However, that's why you have engineers and architects and experts come in to make sure that you're not walking into a devastating red hole or a black hole, putting you into the red. Currently, the city is operating with an income where we have more coming in than going out. This isn't going to change that. This is going to help us in the future and in the short term. This is not, it's not as we didn't put any thought into what's going on. We have experts that assure us, and I went through, and yes, there is issues with the building. That is why we're getting it for a good deal. We have the money allocated to fix that now. And when you look at the other options, I don't believe there is a better option out there for the city. That is including renting. I think this is the best option, and I think a lot of people agree with that, including the people who have done their homework and the experts.
Okay, thank you. We have another question from the audience. Are you aware of ICE activity in the city of Troy, and what is your stance on our city cooperating with ICE? What can we do to ensure all neighbors feel welcomed here regardless of their immigration status? We all came here from somewhere else. That would be.
Which one of us goes first?
Ryan. I had to think about that.
Yeah, so I am in favor with some of the ICE actions here in Troy. Overall, I think ICE has been doing not the best job out there. There's been a lot of reports of them committing unconstitutional arrests, and that's not what I'm looking for in life. I don't think that's what anyone here is in support of. I don't think anyone's supporting that. I think that the best way to help our residents feel safe is to make little cards to tell them their rights and make sure that they know their rights. You can't be detained for anything unless there's a search warrant with your name on it. The best thing to do in this situation is just say, no thank you, I'm going to use my Fifth Amendment right. That's a right for everybody here in the United States, regardless of your immigration status. A lot of the issues are that I've seen are job sites being raided. That's not happening here in the city of Troy. Chief DeWolf wouldn't really go for that. He's a very honest and good guy. I don't think that Kyle Burgott, the sheriff here in Rensselaer County, would go for that. No one here is gonna be arrested or detained or put into a detention camp for being a good community member, as far as I know. If anyone has anything that they know of, feel free to reach out to me and I'll do everything I can to help anybody in a situation that they shouldn't be in. Thank you.
Unfortunately, I think we have seen that community members have been detained and shouldn't have been. And there was a very large rally for the wife of that detainee a couple of weeks ago. And one of the biggest things I think Troy could do, which some people on city council tried to do last week and it was shot down, is throwing support in general behind the city and not behind ICE. We know what the laws in our city are. We also can pass them to say things like you can't wear a face covering if you are trying to arrest somebody. That is something that is in our power to do, and we probably should do. There's no way to know who has that warrant, if there is a warrant, because there often isn't, if we can't tell who they are, if they're not identifying themselves. And it's a two-way street there. So I feel for everybody who has been affected by this already, and absolutely support a safe community so that everybody feels safe. There are a lot of people who are afraid to go to work, afraid to go to school, because they don't know what's going to happen. They are fearing the unknown because it is not following the steps that it should. Due process is incredibly important to our democracy, and thank you, my time's up.
Okay, another question from the audience. What are your plans to proactively keep District 2 residents informed of things happening in our district?
I think it's my turn to go first.
Yes.
Updating social media is a big one. Many people are on various forms of social media, and many of the meetings, whether it's from the city, from Oakwood, events, whatever, many of them are on social media. So being sure to repost as necessary, point people to the right places. And even when I'm talking to people, they ask, when is the next council meeting? Thank goodness it is listed. You can point them to a website. And I think it's important to get the list of the known meetings at places like bus stops, places like corner stores and bodegas. That way you are reaching the people who are not as involved as all of you are, who clearly heard about things. But until you are involved and your algorithms are catching up, you don't necessarily know. So making sure the information is available where people are at instead of expecting them to find you, I think is a good way to do that.
Yeah, sharing things on social media is a good way of getting people to be aware of the events going on in District 2. The other great things are we have very active PTA. They get to a lot of the kids tell their parents. It's a really great way of getting everyone aware of what's going on. Regardless of whether you have social media or not, there's a kid somewhere near you. They probably know, their parents know. Another way is whenever anyone reaches out to me, I make sure to give them a list of everything coming up. Yeah, that's been the most important thing, is just reaching people. I don't think putting things at the bus stop has been really all that effective. I have tried that. They got taken down pretty quickly by people who were utilizing the bus, which is fine. Hopefully they made it to their event. Yeah, bodegas are good. I use them. Again, you have a real crapshoot of what's really gonna happen after you put something in any of those bulletin boards. I think word of mouth is really the most efficient way. It's the way we've always done things. And I think word of mouth has proven successful more often than not in my experience so far.
Okay, thank you. Next question from the audience. Brian, you'll be going first again. Do you feel an obligation or role to press the mayor to release the budget? quarterly reports.
Oh,
Yeah.
Quarterly reports.
Sorry.
Okay, all
I was
right.
confused there for a second. Yeah, no, there's been a press. Sue, the council president, has been really great about doing that. Every time I see Carmela, I mention the quarterly reports. Luckily now we have Mike McNeff, the new comptroller. He's very competent. We had some issues in the beginning of my term with switching between one third party to another third party to finally finding our right comptroller with a few misses in between. Mike McNeff is very, very good at his job. He's done his quarterly report now. I'm looking forward to the next one. It was very, very touch and go in the beginning. However, moving forward, that should not be the case, and I apologize that it happened in the beginning.
Short answer is yes. You can't run a city or a business or a school or anything for that matter if you don't know where the money is coming and going. So sorry to Ryan and Sue and the rest of council that they had to fly blind for so long, but thank goodness we are seeing those reports come out, and hopefully all of the past reports will also be uploaded onto the website like they're legally supposed to be so that we can review those things. But the financial reports are the backbone of getting anything done in the city. Anything that we are talking about up here with what we want to do depends on the money. And if we don't know where the money stands, it's really difficult to get anything done.
Okay, thank you. Another question from the audience. What would you do on the city council to reduce or eliminate partisan polarization and promote the old-fashioned idea of working together for your community? And Shikole, you're the first to respond on that one.
I have to work with a wide range of people from my day job all the time. I think it's great for innovation. People have different ideas. People's brains work differently. Coming at a problem, like even Ryan and I, we, not even just here, like when we talk about things, like our brains work differently and you get different ideas when you are working with different kinds of people. So I don't think partisanship should be part of it ever. I think that's more of a roadblock than anything. And as long as people are willing to speak to each other, open to compromise, open to learning something, then I don't really see a problem with it.
Yeah, partisan politics is really the issue that starts here and goes all the way up to the federal government. When it's us versus them, nobody wins. When we come together, that's when we really succeed. A good example of bipartisan action was this past Thursday at the city council meeting. They won the legislation that was being discussed for just a public hearing, not even for passage that night, was for video conferencing if there was an emergency for one of the city council members. The GOP was not in favor of it as it was written. They wanted to vote no. I disagreed with them. I spoke with the minority about resolutions that we could do to bring it up to everyone's standard. I think that's how a lot of things have been going so far. Is one side says no, the other side yes, yes, no. It could go either way. When we come together to figure it out, you're gonna see better legislation, like the video conferencing coming up and a few other things that have come up since or before then. So, partisan politics is usually the issue and grinds us to a halt.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions we've had from the audience, so I'm gonna go ahead and ask some questions that we've put together. What can be done to help unhoused people get services needed and also help housed people feel safe and comfortable being in public spaces of their neighborhoods?
Yeah, helping the unhoused is something that has been a big discussion. I speak with Amy over at the Joseph's house pretty frequently. There's a lot of services that can be put out there for unhoused individuals. And really the advocates are just saying all you need to do is continue to advocate and people will seek help when they're ready. In between now and then, it's just ensuring that they have a safe place to sleep, a safe place to exist. to people feeling unsafe in their own neighborhoods. It's unfortunate, there is still crime in the area. Big thing of that is meeting your neighbors, getting that sense of community. When you see something, say something. It's a big thing of neighbors are starting to see each other again after COVID, and they remember how nice it is to be part of the community. So just making sure we cultivate that helps a lot for people to feel safe in their own house. Thank you.
District 2 actually just got a new women's shelter at 5th and Dow, don't quote me on that, but somewhere near there. But like I said earlier, providing basic needs to people helps everybody feel safe. Nobody is their best self when they don't know where they're gonna sleep or where their next meal is going to come from. And I'm very happy that there is a new women's shelter to help bolster the community and make sure that people have a safe place to sleep and prepare them for their lives. You see YouTube videos all the time about people who donate haircuts so that people can go to a job interview. And it's little things like that to help people get back on their feet that is really useful. And the community comes in to play there. Meeting your neighbors, knowing your neighbors, even if it is an unhoused neighbor, they are still your neighbors. I see many people walking in front of our house day in and day out that are either in one of the many shelters around the city or could be, like any of us, could become unhoused at any point in time. So I think having compassion for the people who are around you, no matter who they are, building that community and making sure there is a safe place for people to sleep, even if they don't have the money to pay for it.
Okay, thank you. Another question, are there business opportunities for residents that can be started or expanded in your district? If so, what would you do to make that a reality?
I love this question, and I'm so excited to answer. I have gone to a couple of meetings for the Capital Region Reuse Center that they are trying to get brought into the Capital Region. It does not have a home yet. I think Troy would be the perfect home for it. And it helps the environment, it helps with employment, it helps with community. They are modeling it after the center in Ithaca, where there's a fix-it center where people can go and like learn how to fix their own toasters and bicycles and things, computers even. But then there's also just the reuse part of it, and it keeps things out of the landfills. It is cheaper so that people can actually go and buy things for themselves. And based on the model in Ithaca, granted is a bit bigger of a city than Troy is, but based on the numbers that they provided, there's over $6 million of revenue that the reuse center brings into Ithaca every year. So the sales tax revenue that would bring to Troy is huge. And we need that money to do all of these fun things that we've been talking about, like making the bike lanes and making things more accessible. So I think a reuse center in Troy, especially District 2, we actually have a lot of space in District 2 for something like this, a lot of empty, vacant, both lots and buildings. So knowing that there is an active community seeking this out and that we have space, I very much hope that we can all work together to do that.
District 2 has a few opportunities in it already without tearing anything down or putting anything in a residential neighborhood. We have the Ted's Fish Fry that recently closed. That's very much a commercial space that someone can open a new restaurant right next to it. We have a batting cage and ice cream parlor that also has closed down. Ideally, somebody comes in and does something like that. A lot of the easier things to get here in District 2 would be handyman services, people that can come in and help with renovating the homes in the area. If you're closer, it's cheaper because you're not paying for the transit. Yeah, there's a few factories here in District 2. Really highlighting that. There's space next to those factories for anything that really wants to move into District 2, that's where most of the zoning would allow it. Yeah, that would be the best way.
Okay, thank you. Another question from the audience. Are you concerned that the racial demographics in District 2 are not reflected on the city council?
No, not personally. I think that if you are a good public official, a good public servant, that you can be the conduit for anybody, no matter what they look like, what they sound like, where they're from. Their voice is my voice. That's how being an elected official is. A lot of people reach out to me with concerns that I would have never thought of, and I come up with solutions, not by myself, but by bringing more people in that area together to come up with a solution. A lot of things that the concern of a lack of representation, I do think that moving forward, more people can be represented. However, I don't think you need someone who looks and sounds exactly like you to make yourself feel represented.
I think representation is very important, and one of the things whether it's on council or not, I want to do is help people feel empowered to get into, whether it's city council or the planning board, because a lot of people are just intimidated by it sometimes, or they don't know the process, they don't know how to get there. So whether I am elected or not, I am all for more diversity on council, on all of these boards, and would love to help anybody who is interested get to where they want to be if they want to contribute to their community. I agree that part of the job of a public official is being the voice of everybody and being able to speak to and relate to everybody in the district, which is what I will be doing, am doing now, will continue to do. So hopefully we have more people who are interested and who we can empower to be part of city council and city government and all of these boards in the future.
Okay, thank you. Another question that we came up with, how will you work to increase or improve youth recreational opportunities in your community?
District 2 is very fortunate that we have both Oakwood and Knickerbocker Park in district who are already working very hard on these programming items. There's always room to have more, that it usually involves either a grant or somebody who wants to start those programs. Again, all of this costs money, and I think there's a lot of opportunity in partnerships between these organizations and the city to have grants to get this programming done, partnerships with the schools to help kids get to these programs. So there's a lot there as long as you can tap into that. Just like anything that you want to do in a city, once you are looking for it, there's a lot more than you think is there, and having something that will fit the interests, I guess, of all different kinds of youth is really important. So again, thank you for Oakwood for all you do, and we can work towards more.
Recreation for children has been something I've been really advocating for here in District 2. Recently, we just reopened the Knickerbocker Ice Rink. We just partnered with the New York Rangers of the NHL for kids to be able to come and learn how to skate, learn how to play hockey. The equipment can be donated. There's multiple scholarships for them to come play and learn. On top of that, we're opening up the Knickerbocker pool. There's going to be opportunities for kids not only just to learn how to swim and have fun in the pool, but also get paid to be the lifeguards in that same pool, helping their community while also making a couple dollars. Over the summer, the Knickerbocker Park had a summer camp for kids. The pavilion that they were holding it in needed power. I was able to actually come through and help them run the power to the pavilion for free. They had, I think, 100 kids a day there for 6 weeks, which is an amazing feat, and I'm looking forward to doing it again next year. The Oakwood always has some kind of activity going on for the kids right after school. We already partnered with the schools So it's nice that they can come straight from school to get snacks and food, both here and at the Nick Park. The 112th Street Park, which is just out of our district, just got reopened. That has brand new field, brand new lights, brand new playground equipment. It's been really fun to see the kids being able to go out and play in the streets again.
So one thing that was not mentioned in all of this yet is having the budget to support these programs. And I believe that a city's priorities are shown in its budget line items. So as city council members, that's part of what our job is to go through the budget and approve, disapprove, talk about, change, etc. I think it's really important to make sure that there are line items available, especially for things like the Nick pool. We got a grant to build that pool. That was not Troy, it was a grant that came through from other elected officials who put the work in to get it. And this year's budget, of course, is not out yet, it will be soon. But there hasn't been a lot of talk of how we're going to be able to afford the maintenance, the workers. It would be awesome to have the kids work there and be able to play there, but we need to make sure that it's maintained. That was the issue with the old pool, is that we ran out of money and didn't have it maintained. So I want to keep seeing these things coming to Troy, but I want to make sure that Troy is thinking through the long-term plan to make sure that it stays that way.
Okay, thank you. Which I think is a good segue into the next question. The city of Troy is financially stable as of January 2024. How will you ensure that the financial future of Troy remains stable?
Kind of what Shikole just touched on, going over the line items, like for the Nick Ice Rink, where we had money allocated for it to not only run, but be renovated and maintained throughout the first year of operation. We're currently operating less than what we allocated for, which is a great sign for the future. The best way is just go line by line, item by item, ensuring that we're not overspending anywhere. All our money is where it needs to be. Currently, that's where we're at. A few things need to be changed in this year's budget so far. Firefighter overtime reduced due to hiring more firefighters. Plowing overtime increased to over budget already, so we're able to reallocate the money from there. The firefighter overtime to the plowing overtime as necessary. That can also come out of the contingency fund for the plowing, because that's how you budget, is you plan ahead, which we're currently doing. We were fine in 2024, we're fine now, and with the leadership that we currently have, myself included, we'll be fine in the future too. Thank you.
I feel like I've already talked about the budget a lot, but that's okay. It is very important to keep Troy running. Line by line is how you have to budget, and making sure that every known expense has an appropriate line item so that we can appropriately plan for spending is the very first step to a good and working budget. Making sure that our contingency fund is just that. It is a contingency for unplanned items. Ensuring that we have all of these services that we've already talked about, the Nick pool, the Nick ice rink, parks in general, that also requires maintenance. Again, a city's priorities is shown in its budget, so let's increase some of that, as well as the firefighters, like was already mentioned. I know that they are trying to get additional firefighters into a new contract that I don't think has been passed yet as far as I know, but having the appropriate staffing keeps us all safe, and again, planning ahead, budgeting for that means that we can do it and reduce even more of the potential overtime for those very hardworking people who keep us safe.
Okay, thank you. During one of the earlier questions, we touched on the rent issue here, but more generally, what are your ideas for increasing supply of affordable housing within your district, and to increase the supply? Yeah. Shikole?
So there is already an accessory dwelling unit program that I just got information for because I wanted to read through what that means, what is required, how it works. And I think that's a great way to increase the supply with structures and properties that already exist. And the accessory dwelling unit program is meant to either fix up or renovate carriage houses, garages, like over garage apartments, or add them if there is adequate space on your property. So it's not, the big apartment complexes that I've heard a lot of complaints about with not fitting into the neighborhood. It is more community-based, smaller scale, but more effective because it can also be some of that lower priced housing. You're not gonna be paying $1,500 for like the luxury units going up. Instead, you will be paying a reasonable amount for a carriage house that got renovated. So really harnessing what Troy has and using what exists right now instead of just always building new, I think is an opportunity that we need to harness.
Yeah, my first time running, I was advocating for people to learn how to use their hands to help renovate their own buildings that they purchase. We have a lot of people that are able to do that now, that are learning through apprenticeships. And the biggest thing that I was able to do in my first 2 years is get the community land, the Troy Land Bank, back up and running. They were still running, they just weren't, they were more crawling than running. Ever since then, we've had, I think, close to 30 renovations. That's things ready for people to buy and either move into or have a quick renovation to fix up. They stabilized a whole lot of things. They're doing a lot of facades. It's been, the thing that I was really worried about is a lot of historic buildings in our district that aren't the prettiest. A lot of people buy them from downstate. They just throw on a new coat of paint, try to make it as safe as possible. And if the money runs out, the money runs out. Getting the ROP in kind of reduces that because now you have to have someone who you can reach as a property manager. And it's going to continue to help with the land bank as they get more and more grants. They are going to be able to fix up more and more buildings. I know their priorities are South Troy and North Central. So District 2 is getting a big facelift from them. And I was happy to help do that.
Okay, we have another question from the audience. Much of Troy will be impacted by sea level rise in the next 30 years. What will you do on the city council to prepare for that? And that's Ryan.
Yeah, currently I'm a union electrician. My current job right now is I'm working on a floating solar field. So it's a solar field like you've seen on a bunch of farms or sides of the mountain. Instead, we're just putting it on top of water. It floats independently. Continuing that is my 5th or 6th solar farm that I've done in the last 2 years. I think reducing our carbon footprint through energy production would be a big way to combat sea level rising. You can see it already working. This year was the first year in a long time that the polar ice caps actually had any kind of movement in the positive direction. So I think if we continue to do what we're doing and being mindful of our waste and how we produce our waste and how our waste is actually affecting us now instead of in the future, the more mindful we are, that's perfect. The city of Troy, as a city councilman, we have solar panels, we get solar credits, looking to extend that program, and I joined the I joined the, what is it called? I'm sorry, a lot of boards. The Sustainability Task Force. We're talking about different ways of moving the city forward in green energy. That way we do not have to deal with the rise of sea levels.
So reuse and recycling are the cornerstones of sustainability. And I think there are ways that the city can encourage folks to recycle more. In my part of D2, our trash night is Monday night and gets picked up on Tuesday morning. And the number of overfilled trash cans that are full of things like cardboard and other recyclables hurts my soul. So I think it has been spoken about before, but there is an option of eventually moving Troy to per use trash. So instead of paying like per trash can, which right now it is, there have been talks and other cities have adopted doing it per bag. So you incentivize people to throw out less and recycle more. So it costs the city less for the trash because it just costs a lot to process that. But then people are also paying less, which makes them happy. And it helps the environment, which hopefully will keep sea levels low where they belong, stop with the global warming. But working with people to make it easy for them to do it, making sure that recycling containers are available and easy to get. I know DPW has been great anytime we have needed a new one because they inevitably get cracked and don't always hold things. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just a reminder, you can still, provide questions if you'd like. So another one that we had, it's kind of more a general one, but what do you feel is the greatest asset of your community or district, and or what do you really like about the neighborhood of North Central?
I think the diversity is the strongest part of the neighborhood. From the different ways that people have their yards. That's one of the things I always look at because I love to garden. And whether it's the flowers or the herbs or the pavers or the decorations, I love seeing the different ways that people express themselves through the yard. And that is for anybody, like homeowners, renters, anybody can decorate their yard. So I think that is one of the strengths that we have is how different we can be and then relating to each other. So I say hi to almost everybody on the street. It sometimes makes our trips a little bit longer because some people like to talk back, but talking to people and incorporating what other people think and feel and know about your neighborhood is what's going to make it a stronger neighborhood.
I think what makes North Central and Lansingburg as a whole a great community is the people inside of the community. My first year living here, I can't tell you exactly when because I didn't know it was going to be on the test, but here we are. I was dealing with my first snowstorm. I'm like, wow, I have great on-street parking. That's the first time ever. My neighbor stopped me and was like, hey man, you're going to get towed. You got to go to the other side. I'm like, oh, thank you. So I was home, snow was coming down hard. Someone got stuck on the corner. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna go help push him. That's just the kind thing to do. By the time I got there was already 3 other people pushing him in an area where other people were afraid to come out. They say it's dangerous. There was just 4 strangers helping a 5th stranger push their car out of the snow. I think that's the most amazing thing here in Troy. I know it's a little anecdotal, but North Central, when push comes to shove, the community is very strong here, and seeing the quiet ways we come together, not just the loud ways, is something I truly cherish and enjoy watching. And being a part of.
Okay. So another question that we had, a general one, is how would you work to improve public safety in the district?
A big way I've helped with public safety, get reduced by a third here, is I'm very active in the community. I see a lot of the people that are pretty good at reporting to me when something is about to go down. So I'll personally walk the streets at night if I know something's going down. I'll make sure kids get home safe. Sometimes it's just a polite hey, and sometimes I'm like, hey, don't make me call your mom because you're not gonna like that. Other times it's calling Chief DeWolf up and saying, hey, I need the mobile tower to be moved, that way it deters crime. I've installed a lot of ring cameras for people, that way people are even more further deterred because you're always on camera now. Helping kids so when I was in high school, my grades were like whales, it was barely above sea level. I just never really cared about it, never really wanted to do homework. A lot of kids are that way still. I don't think that's ever gonna change no matter what we do. But showing them that there's an opportunity to make 6 figures with a pension and annuity and healthcare, dental, vision, that you don't have to go to college, you don't have to go on the streets, you can make a great living for yourself and your family, and you're gonna start that off whether you know how to do it or not. We're gonna teach you. That's been a really great motivator and a really great way to help reduce crime. So it's really just the 3 basic things. It's working with the community, making sure you're working with the police, and empowering kids to do better in the future.
I think the best way to improve public safety, especially in District 2, is to encourage more businesses to move up to District 2. When there are more people around, there tends to be less crime, and they're outside of Ale House, there's not restaurants, bars, coffee shops, there's nothing in District 2 anymore. So moving things back up into District 2, I think is going to greatly improve public safety just because there's going to be more people around. It's going to encourage the community building that we've all been talking about. It's also going to give people things to do that are not roaming the streets. And it doesn't have to be, a bar or restaurant have something to do, but businesses in general, if there's a pool hall, kids can play pool. But there's not a lot of things for anybody to do in District 2 right now after the sun sets, and that's a problem. So moving businesses up to District 2, I think, is really important both for public safety and just for enjoyment of life.
Okay, we have another question from the audience. What will you do to preserve and protect the 1011 Second Ave Mohican Tuck land and the last riverfront forest in our city? Are you opposed to development on that land? And hopefully I pronounced that right.
So that land is in District 1, not District 2. However, I do think that the developer needs to follow the appropriate processes and protocols before developing on that land. I can't say that I am super knowledgeable about what those are because it's not this district. I have not looked into that very closely. But clearly there are processes for that, and it's important to preserve both green spaces and potentially indigenous spaces. So making sure that we have the right things in place there. Again, don't know what the developer has done, is about to do. As long as it is following the law, there's not a lot that city council can do because it is our job to follow the law or change the law. But yeah, hopefully he is going through that process appropriately.
I'm not necessarily in favor of the current proposal. It's a massive rental space that isn't affordable. There are benefits to it. There's been a lot of work formerly from the Planning Commission and now from the Planning Board. He's added things like boat launches and green space. I think one of the things he introduced was an indigenous hall where you would preserve the memory of the space. I think that you can do better than that. I think that maintaining at least some of the last forest in the city of Troy for the indigenous would be important. However, it is private land, so like Shikole said, there isn't a ton that we can do other than be advocates. And that's all I've done so far, and that's all we can do moving forward. So hopefully he takes into more account of the historical value of the land that he's purchased.
Okay, we have another question from the audience. What specific actions do you propose to take to bring in businesses? Many available places are privately owned. How can you get private business owners to move in? And that's Ryan.
So currently, what I've done is I've reached out to business owners who have properties that are sitting vacant. I've spoken to business owners that have aspirations of moving into District 2. The number one place would be Ted's Fish Fry. There's a few people who want to put a restaurant in. It does not sound like they're very excited to sell the property currently. However, if the right proposal comes through, they would sell. The other thing is I've helped a few car mechanics come in. It's not gonna make or break District 2, however, it does add more jobs for people here in the district. It also generates revenue. It also creates more business opportunities for people to come in around them. I'm hoping that with the green space that is still available, that a couple more businesses come in. However, when you're looking at the way the city is set up, downtown is generally where a lot of the business is. We just recently got our grocery store, Bargain Grocery, which is very important. We have a few bodegas. We have a restaurant. Ideally, we get that second restaurant, and the two factories that we have here do generate a lot of revenue for District 2, and ideally, we can highlight that more.
So a lot of smaller cities use the Small Business Association to offer potential business owners help going through the red tape. And that is something that I think Troy could really leverage, because it's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of steps to take to get the space, file the right permits, get the insurance. Like, there are steps to take for a business to open. And being able to offer any kind of help to a business owner to take some of that load off, I think is a huge draw that businesses would want to be coming here. Being able to free up that brain space of, I don't know what to do next, I don't know who to call, what do I do, I'm lost, so that they can actually focus on the business that they want to open, including helping them find appropriate locations. Yes, there are, of course, buildings that are privately owned, but there's also a lot for sale. There's a lot that's vacant. There's a lot on the foreclosures list. And if there's somebody that the SBA via Troy can offer to help point these things out, help them figure out this plan to bring the business to Troy, I think that would be invaluable, or very valuable, depending on the business.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So this will be probably the last question, and we've pretty much run through our list unless anybody else has any more they wanna ask. This will probably be the last one, okay? So in general, what is the best, way for your constituents to contact you regarding if they have questions, suggestions, or need information? And I think, Shikole, that would be you first.
I mean, my preference is always text message, because it's easy and I can read it whenever. But there's phone number, there's email, like I make that available to anybody, everybody. It's on my website, it's on all of my lit. Phone and email, just like any other person that you are trying to contact. I very much value text because it's something that doesn't necessarily interrupt the day. While Ryan is very lucky that he can answer a phone call sometimes in the middle of the day, not all of us can, because this is a part-time city council position, and I plan to have office hours every month so that people can come and talk to me as needed. But just making yourself available all of the time, but in a reasonable time. Like, we're only human. Like, I'm not gonna promise to answer the phone at 3 o'clock in the morning. We need sleep too. But having phone numbers available so that, we can do our jobs, we can get to it. If you're already meeting with somebody and you have the note from a resident, like, hey, so-and-so on 4th Ave really needs this noise to stop, so let's talk to them about it. Things like that.
Yeah, I'm very accessible. I have my phone number, my personal phone number, my email, and my address on pretty much everything I'm putting out. I've had people call me. If I don't respond to you, I'll get back to you usually within an hour. It's usually much less than that. If you text me, it's usually within a few minutes I get back to you. And if you email me, it's gonna be probably about a day before I fully respond to you, just because if you're emailing me, I feel it's more formal, and I'd like to have the proper response before I respond to you. That way I have all the information laid out. Yeah, unlike Shikole, I've answered my phone multiple times at 3 o'clock in the morning, from things like someone got shot, there's a fire, to something that I've dealt with a lot recently is Dollar General has the truck idling, and it's keeping people awake. So they call me, and I come down, I ask the truck to move. When they say no, I contacted their supervisor didn't pick up because it was 3 in the morning. So I contacted the district manager of Dollar General to make sure that they stop doing this. And they have. It's very important to be accessible, not just during the day, because it's not a part-time job, this is a full-time job. No one who has an emergency wants to hear, hey, sorry, I have a day job, I was sleeping. They want to hear, hey, how can I help you? And that's something I'm very good at, that's something I would like to continue to do for you, because this is not a part-time job, this is more than a full-time job.
Okay, thank you. No more questions from the audience, as far as we know? Okay. So now we're gonna hear the closing statements, but before we hear the closing statements, I wish to thank you all for demonstrating your civic concern by attending this event. And I want to thank the candidates and the audience for the respect you showed throughout the evening. Don't forget to pick up the league information on the literature table. And also, don't forget to vote in this year's election. Early voting this year is from October 25th to November 2nd, and election day is on November 4th. Again, thank you for coming. Now we will hear the closing, our closing statement from Ryan first. And closing statements are to be no longer than 1 minute.
First off, I just want to thank you all again for coming out. I know it's been a rainy, miserable day, but you all came, and I'm very happy to see you all. If you have any interest in opening a business here in District 2, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll get you in touch with planning. They'll help you with every step of the way. They're really great and qualified individuals over there. They'll help you figure out grants or anything that you need. If you ever see anything going on in the streets, garbage cans out, somebody in trouble, anything, feel free to call me. Obviously, if it's an emergency, call 911. They're gonna be much faster than me to get there to help out. They're much more qualified. I really love this job. I really love the job I've done, and I'd really like to continue doing it for you all. And thank you again for coming out. It really has been a rainy day.
Thank you to the league, thank you to Oakwood, thank you for everybody who spent your time with us tonight. I am very excited to hopefully represent District 2 in the most transparent, realistic way possible, making sure that everything that you need is accounted for with the city, with the community, and building this community more and more as we go. So thank you to everybody, and I hope to connect with you more.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
Just a video. Yeah.